Bloody fly. Oh.
You're going to do your Tom Shanty thing.
No, just think nice thoughts and be on a desert island maybe, or licking the inside of an old salted peanut packet.
Yes, I'm feeling it.
Good. And let the thoughts come and go as they will, like clouds.
Ooh.
Taste the raisin. And kill the fly if you get a chance.
I'm killing it with my mind waves right now. I did Tai Chi a bit of a mosquito on the B-Day earlier. He wasn't expecting it.
It's quite a nice image. Should we wake Louisa up? I think the kids went to bed quite late, so she might actually be asleep. No, she's not asleep. Good evening, everybody. Sorry, did I disturb your Om Shanti there?
Yes, you did, but it's all okay. It's all good.
Good evening, everybody. How are you doing on this inaugural Spiritual Portugal Show? And it's so delightful to be sharing the comments people have made before and the comments that are already coming in. Look at this. Isn't this lovely? The Yonkers. Congratulations on the new program. We stayed up late to be one of the first to see it. Thank you so much, both of you. It's so kind. It really is. And we really appreciate that because I know a lot of people, you get into a kind of a life of well-being. And I don't think late nights are really part of that, are they? Unless you're doing a vision quest or something like that. So many people I know who live very nice, easygoing lives, living lightly, living simply, often are in bed by about 8 o'clock in the evening. So really, I'm not saying that's you, the Yonkers, but absolutely appreciate you being here. It is late in Portugal. And the reason for that is because we do this when the kids have gone to bed. Because it's the only time we can really work together. And for that reason as well, Louisa might disappear. If I could breastfeed, I would go. But it's the easiest way to rest the kids. And they do not like the hairy milk. I have offered it to them several times, haven't I? And they're just not interested in that sort of thing. Maybe that's not the best start to the show. Anyway, thank you to Yonkers. Penny joined in, I think, with a bit of omming at the beginning there. More like flipping buzzing in here. I don't know if you can hear the fly that I've got in with me this evening on this hot, balmy Portuguese evening. Victoria, look at that. Do you want to read that one and do a couple of these?
Oh, yeah. Yay. It's the lovely Munsons. That's so lovely for you to join us. Thank you so much. Is that plant real? What, this one behind me?
Well, David, is anything real? Is anything real? You of all people asking a question like that. I'm sure on the Man Cave, we spoke about... the mind expanding effect of mushrooms. And for you to ask if anything real, I'm a little bit disappointed, I have to say. But we could pick that up philosophically a little bit later. But yes, I guess within the context of your question, it is from Little, isn't it? It was sold as real. Is that right, Mrs. M?
What's that?
It is real. I mean, as in it's a living plant. We haven't killed it yet.
No, I mean, I do need to water it. I mean, it's really parched, but... Thanks
for the prompt there, David. Maybe that's what he was getting at, as a kind of passive-aggressive question about the dry-looking plant in the back there. Yeah. Andy is here as well. A couple of man cavers here. There's going to be trouble, possibly. This lot are in tonight, but we'll see how it goes. We're watching. That sounds quite ominous, doesn't it? That sounds very New Economic Forum. We will be watching, and you'll be happy about it.
Yes, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. The Yonkers, we don't have children to get to bed on time. The on time bit, we don't know what that means. What are you talking about on time, Bob Yonker? Yeah, we know they have to go to bed, but on time? Yeah. Hold on a minute. David's coming in. The questions are coming from David thick and fast here. How much more spiritual would this stream be if we started handing out THC gummies? Now, yes, you got gummy bears for your birthday or something, didn't you? I knew there was something about that wasn't straightforward confectionery, I think. Do you know what he's talking about here? I'm gonna claim a kind of ignorance about it. I think I know what he's talking about. It's not a hobby I've got for sure. What about you, Mrs. M?
And what's that? Sorry, I'm looking at the comments.
Sorry. Oh, you're not even listening to me. That's okay.
No, I wasn't. Sorry. Go. I am all ears now.
THC gummies.
Oh, yeah.
What do you? What's happening there? What's that about?
There would probably be that kind of time delay that we just had a moment ago.
Okay. Oh, I see. Right. Well, I guess if we started handing out gummies, THC gummies, people would probably have to leave about an hour in, to start a band and maybe go down to the petrol station to get some Mars bars. That's not good for business as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Cindy B's here as well. Bon night. So glad to be live with you guys. Cindy B, thank you very much for being here. And Jason, thank you very much for your beautiful message to me. Right back at you, mate. It's delightful to have you here. And we'll be reading out your response to my earlier hashtags. We survived 2012. I think it's quite interesting. a lot of new agers here will be delighted to have. Well, actually, might feel a bit robbed that they didn't ascend in 2012 and they've had to carry on in this way. Do you want to carry on with these comments, Mrs. M? We'll have a sip of tea from my Good Morning Portugal mug.
Because a lot of these people are people that you know and I don't know, so it's cool. I've never heard you even mention Kent William Albin. I was thinking, what a name! That's an awesome.
It's fabulous. Yeah, he's was a man caver, is a man caver, and a regular on the Good Morning Portugal.
It is fly season, isn't it, at the moment?
Yeah, no, he's right though. He's right. Yes, that's one fly I would like to undo right now, for sure. Mark, good evening. Hello, Mark. Tuning in as well. That's fantastic. I don't know. Let us know if you're watching this because you're thinking you're going to see a weird side of me, or that you got a kind of green light when I said, we're coming out of the New Age closet, and it's like, oh yes, great. I always knew there was a soft and spiritual side to that man, and I'm with you for that. Or have you just come to just ask awkward questions like David? No, I wasn't being passive aggressive, Carl. Don't be so silly. I'm sorry. Okay, let me just let that go. Okay, we're good. Sorry, David.
Your aura's looking cleansed now.
Yes. Late for me, but I couldn't miss the first show. Bless you, Penny. Lots of love to you in Devon, England. Not here to poke fun. We are interested in your new show. God bless you. Thank you very much. And I would say you cannot not be spiritual. It's and I'm not keen on those sort of spiritual correctness apartheid things of some people are more spiritual than others. I think people are in different places. In a way that a toddler is in a different place to a limping old person. Clearly, they're different. But I'm really not keen on the spiritual correctness stuff, where some so-called spiritual people look down on others and call them sheeple or the unawakened or whatever. Have a word with yourselves let's talk about it here. If you're one of those people who uses the term negatively towards other human beings that they're unawakened, what might we make of that? Stephen Wells, good evening to you. Another good Morning Portugal man cave connection there. Love it that you're all here, but this wonderful human being, another one in Devon.
We've got a couple of messages from her because she's coming at us from Facebook and YouTube. Kimberly, it's so lovely to see you. We have to come on the show as well because I'd love to have a good chinwag with you. It'd be fantastic to catch up. Really would.
It's like taking 2 bottles into the shower. If you're on Facebook and YouTube, it's like having shampoo and conditioner. So good job there, Kimberly. And good evening. Look, Andy's working the room, which is lovely. Good evening, everyone. That's the spirit. Nice. Oh, Philomena as well, who I know is partial to the holistic view of the world and the spiritual view of the world. And we had a lovely conversation about the Friday the 13th goings-on shenanigans not in Portalegre, but Montalegre. I think I sent people to the wrong part of the country to celebrate that last week. But it's so delightful to talk to you about that, Philomena, and so lovely to have your company here tonight. I haven't watched any of Louisa's other videos. Do you want to talk about them? No, I don't want to. They are the bane of my life. Like that video your wife did about Portugal. I've made 500 videos about Portugal, and you've made one, haven't you, or 2 now? And yours, those two are more popular than I think all the rest of mine put together. So no, David, I do not want to talk about that. Or maybe somebody could counsel me through that.
Wasn't David referring to, is he just using that to take the piss out of you? Or is he referring to all the interviews I do?
Well, I think that it's a good point, a good moment to do that for sure. You know, because you were very busy last month, weren't you, with the Higher Self Expo?
Yeah,
and you interviewed a lot of people in this area.
Yeah. In the last 6 months, it's been a bit crazy. And yeah, like tomorrow I'm doing a show with Rick Purcell, who is somebody I work with every single week, and he's amazing. He's a coach from Bali. He has a retreat center. And so tomorrow we're doing a show called Mirror, Mirror on the Wall, which is all going to be about projections and how to deal with it, how to cope with it, how to recognize that you're in a projection and stuff like that. Then we've got a video actually that we'll share a bit later from one of our pals, TC Aila, also known as Tanya Castillo. Tanya is actually her real name, and TC Aila is her author name. And I do a monthly show with her. And the one we're doing this Friday is called Wholeness 101. So I'm looking forward to that one because we always have a good crack. And actually, we're going to be doing it in live from tomorrow as well, which would be good. It'd be really, really lovely to meet up with her. And then I've got something to release this week with yoga teacher, author, and international presenter Smita Joshi. If any of you know Smita, you've interviewed Smita in the past, haven't you, Carl?
Back in the day.
Yeah.
Back in the day. When she was doing one of her first album. I preferred her first album.
Yeah, so I'm releasing something called Be More of Who You Are. So that's some of her advice on that. And then I'm interviewing a couple of really great people next week as well. So there's Robert Jardine, who is doing the circuits at the moment, talking about how we can absolutely, completely heal ourselves, and sharing quite sort of like new things that nobody really talks about. And in fact, can I read out? He's doing a Zoom conference tomorrow, and I've got the link to it. I don't want to put it on, in a public way. But if you're interested in attending this Zoom, then just send me a message, and I'll drop you a link. But tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. that's London, Lisbon time. I'm talking about a new discovery, a game changer in our understanding in health. You're welcome to join from 7 p.m. onwards, and it will be an opportunity to ask questions and learn new perspectives on disease and how to overcome it or even avoid it. I'll be putting on a short PowerPoint show where we'll see the connection between our brains and any symptoms we may develop in our bodies. This is a real opportunity for everybody to investigate new avenues in overcoming health issues. So if anyone's interested in that, I'm actually interviewing him next week. I've seen him talk a couple of times, and I've actually put to use the technology he was talking about. He's basically using the learning and understanding of a Dr. Hamer or Dr. Hammer from Germany. It's changed. It changed some of my symptoms instantly, like within a day, didn't it, Carl? An ongoing issue that I've had.
Well, to be fair, I mean, I don't know what it was because you're on quite a lot of regimes at the moment. It could have been. I wasn't on
any regime at that time when it.
Oh, okay. So we can isolate. Have I got that right? Robert Jardine.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I loved him when he was on MasterChef as well. He's a good lad. He takes a joke well, but that does sound fascinating.
To be fair, he did look like one of the MasterChef guys. But I'm also talking to a guy called Jeff Granville very shortly as well, and I've spoken to him quite a few times in the past. But he's got some biohacking breathing technology to share. Like some patterns in breathing that can help almost drench you in serotonin and things like that. So it's really, really helpful. When I've done his breathing exercises, I've kind of tripped out. So you don't actually need those THC gummy bears. Yeah, you can
save yourself some money.
Literally within 4 minutes, I was feeling really sort of like, really chilled.
Can of bears.
So there's a lot of shows that we're going to be posting over the next week or two, I guess.
Yeah, and hopefully inviting people on. And there are people who in this esteemed company tonight in the comments who we want to come on and talk as well. We're just settling into it, really. Just kind of drawing out a bit of a carving out a cross in space and time, and holding space for the tribe. Now, we should have some New Age bullshit bingo cards really soon, so that whenever we say things like holding space for the tribe, or that's fine too, or it was meant to be, or anything like that comes out that you hear us say inadvertently, we just cross it off on the bingo sheet, and we'll come up with some sort of prize for the winner who gets a full house on those. So I think that very adequately answers your question there, David.
Yeah, I mean, if you're interested in checking them out, I think I will be posting some of them to Spiritual Portugal on YouTube. But if you have a look at my channel, it's Louisa Tanner Munson on YouTube. Subscribe and you'll be able to catch up. There's a whole back catalogue as well, so there's a lot going on there.
Marvelous. Jacqueline Brun, I'm aware of saying yes, great. Like, I'm not honouring your great body of work, but that's along the lines of, the prophet is never known in their own land. She is prolific. Go on.
It's not really a great body of work. I've just interviewed quite a few people in, recent times, and it's not my work. It's just chatting to interesting people who've got some great perspectives. And I'm really looking forward to sort of interviewing more people, actually based in Portugal who are healers. And, we know quite a few people who like move from country to country and come and do like retreats and stuff like that sort of pop into Portugal. So hopefully we'll catch up with some of them as well.
Excellent. If we are, as we've been described, the Richard and Judy of the new agey world, I would have not missed that opportunity there. With a twinkle in my eye, say, you do have a great body of work.
Owen that said that, wasn't it?
Yes, that's right. There you go. Thank you very much for that, Owen. And I'm sure you'll be on this screen, as will Jenny, at some point as we settle into this. And people will recognise if it's for them or not. Sounds a bit new agey again, doesn't it? But I think it's new. This is we did a pilot show, didn't we, on Sunday night? This is our first one in this slot, which we're intending to do every Tuesday, and we'll get into a groove with this. And I think you'll see from tonight whether it's for you or not. So welcome, and use it from that point of view, and influence it as well. It's within that realm of what is spirituality, what is spiritual, and that this we happen to be in Portugal and exploring the delights, the spiritual delights of Portugal. It's that intersection, if you like, of those two ideas, concepts. So Jacqueline Branco's here as well. Good evening to you, Jacqueline. Appreciate you staying up late. And Kimberly on her second identity there. Hi, lovelies. We'll take that twice.
We've got a lovely. Oh, hi, Kate. It's really great that you've joined us past your bedtime. So thank you so much. I just want to share another comment that we got in. So Dee Brody, who's our good friend, and I'm hoping she'll come on the show at some point. She shared with us in a question, like, what do you think spirituality is? She's saying loving kindness and equanimity in the face of all circumstances. And I really sort of like sat with that for a moment and felt the intensity of it, being able to stay really balanced no matter what's going on in your life is such a skill and a gift, because everybody like loses their heads when stuff's going on, and I love that Dee does that. To me, I think it's really, really graceful. And then in fact, Kate, that was just joining us past her bedtime, she shared with us accepting that all creatures are as important on this planet as you. And I think that's also, really sweet, and it really sort of like carries some weight, doesn't it?
Well, I feel bad about my dinner tonight, though. But anyway, I get what you're saying there, Kate.
Hey, Shannon's here.
Hey, Shannon.
Hey, Shannon.
Wow. Now, Shannon's a very special person to us, because this, I suppose, the germ of this idea, the Barefoot broadcast, was happening 10, 11 years ago. And that's where I know 11 years ago, first knew Shannon from. And I bless you, Shannon. Thank you for your indulgence back in those days, and that you've stuck with us all this time and taken an interest in what we do. So thank you so much. It's lovely to see you here from Texas, I'm suspecting, tonight. And isn't it lovely that we do have a wonderful global crowd? It is Spiritual Portugal, but that doesn't mean you have to be in Portugal or even be interested in Portugal. And that's irrelevant in some ways. It's just the epicenter. It's where we are, and the vibes that we're playing with are in Portugal and Portuguese. But this is obviously, if it's in any way spiritual or holistic, it's going to be global and universal too. So who knows? We might have visitors from other dimensions. Actually, I don't want to invite that. I don't want to. We've got enough trouble on our hands. Way too much spiritual BS kicking around. It's true, Stephen. I mean, what can you say? I mean, that's part of all areas of life, isn't it? And the spiritual world is no exception. And in many ways, probably a little bit of a magnet for some people with less than good intentions, or you know, I'm going to own this, you know, or the misguided. I'm not saying I'm not misguided anymore. I'd like to think I'm a little bit better guided than I have been, but yeah, absolutely take that point on, Stephen. And what can you do about that, really, except, I suppose, one of the things I wanted to possibly talk about tonight was this idea of the bigger line. Yeah. And I'm going to do a massive name drop here. I was very lucky to be in the company of Satish Kumar. Actually, I talked to him a few times, because when you're in Devon, it's hard not to cross paths with Satish Kumar. Great guy, editor of Resurgence magazine, and a great author and spiritual teacher. And he said one way of dealing with the challenges of the world is if you see a problem, or you perceive a problem, and I'm paraphrasing because he might not have said this exactly, but this is how it made sense to me anyway. If you perceive a difficulty, a challenge, a problem in the world, then why don't we draw a bigger line next to it? You know, so if the problem is X or Y, and I'm not going to use an example because I know that could just take us off into, there's enough in the world. Choose your own example. And what this community could be the bigger line next to those lines of trouble and challenge around the world at the moment, couldn't it? This community we could collectively be a bigger line that gets drawn next to those troublesome lines. And the first thing that the eye sees is the bigger line. And we could be that, you know, we could organize ourselves in that way, be the bigger line. It literally, you know, that expression, you're bigger than that. And we are often so much bigger than a lot of what we think about and perceive and have a struggle with. So that will certainly be my suggestion there with the spiritual BS. If you engage with it or get critical of it, you're kind of going down a slippery slope, aren't you? As tempting as it is, for sure. I mean, I could talk all night about spiritual BS and attacking it and challenging it and taking the mickey out of it, but I can see it's not leading anywhere.
You take the piss out of me if you think like you really hold me accountable, don't you? For what comes out of my mouth, you know, at home.
Yes.
You think if you smell a whiff of BS, you really call me out on it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, to me, that's the basis of a happy marriage. I mean, I don't like you doing it to me, but I do like to be able to do it to you.
Okay. Stephen, how do you recognize, you know, when something is like spiritual BS? Like, how do you know? Is it something instinctual? You know, let us know. I'd really like to know. And I'm pretty sure there's quite a few people here who have their way of recognizing BS. So, you know, I'm looking forward to hearing what comes up. Everyone has their own.
Maybe it's like a full on klaxon going off when you and then you still.
I call it like my spidey senses, you know, like we've got like 3 kids and 2 at least, all 3 of them really like Spider-Man. And so the whole spidey senses tingling is a really, I think, a really sort of apt description. You know, there's something that you know is just not quite right and it's a bit jarring in your brain. We've got Senga back on. Let's say hello to Senga. So, hi guys, I'll be a voyeur this evening. You'll be on in the background. My neurodiverse brain is trying to prep for an interview tomorrow. So, good luck with that one. I hope that goes well.
Good luck.
And I hope we don't distract from your preparation.
Might even be able to help. Let us know if there's anything. There's a lot of great people here, Senga. So if there's anything you want any help with, there are some marvelous people. That's so true, Bob. I mean, you know, and we don't know what journey people are on a lot of the time. Do we have our idea of it, and we only know as much as they tell us or other people tell us, and we just don't know, do we really? And I think the interesting thing, going back just briefly to the spiritual BS, it's like for me now, I just think it's probably best just to say that's not for me and move on. and that's not as easy as it sounds, is it? Because we might want to engage and challenge and feel righteous in our judgment of it, but it would. You can only kind of put your perception and attention in one place, really, can't you, at a time? So if we follow those spiritual BSers around, and with our view of them, I guess that's where our attention goes, and it might have arguably been put elsewhere to better use. Look at this. Hendrik Lamar, but this is a rare comment from a splendid gentleman, again in Devon, who we love and know, and we rarely hear from. But it's so good to hear from you tonight, Hendrik.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, Penny saying hi. I'll make your mind up, Kimberly. I'm on YouTube now. I went belt and braces for a second there. Love you guys. Great to see you. It's lovely to see you, Kimberly. And yeah, we'd love to have you join us on first namaste of the night. Was that?
Yeah, it was a quick
namaste there.
Yeah, a little recognition to my good soul sister, Kimberly.
Yeah, and Jacqueline and Kate know each other as well. Wouldn't miss the launch. And other people who know each other from other circumstances. And I love that. I absolutely love that. And I know from my perspective that these people have similar sort of ethics and views. And it's lovely we are, talking of Spider-Man and webs and vibrations and that sort of thing. I think we are building a little bit of a or a part of a network here of lovely people. I'm seriously thinking about getting into yoga after I move to Portugal. I can easily see a morning yoga and meditation routine right before work every day. Well, yeah, good. Sounds good to me. What would you say, Mrs. M? You've got some yoga mats, haven't you?
Yes, and I've used them a few times to hold
the door open.
Yeah, to hold the door open, to stop the kids hurting themselves if they fall out of bed.
Leveling a table is quite you. Like I said, she's going, I'm going to level the table. Is that a yoga position? No, I'm actually going to level the table with my yoga mat. And that's pretty much the only use it gets.
The funny thing is, like, one of these yoga mats has come with me all the way from Bali. So like when I was in Bali, I did like this yoga retreat as well as a poi spinning retreat. And that was 12 years ago now. And I carried this yoga mat with me, and I mean, to be fair, in all honesty, Cole did, we did get busy when we met each other, and, I've been either heavily pregnant or...
What do you mean?
like raising small babies. So, like finding the time to do yoga has been a bit challenging, but these yoga mats have come everywhere with us and have not been used. They're just gathering dust.
Well, there's I've put in these things into the conversational thread that we might talk about, but that's another thing we might talk about. All those good intention things in your house, like ukuleles, yoga mats, spiralizers. What else is there?
I actually did buy us a mini spiralizer yesterday.
Did you?
Yeah. It's about this big. And I tell you what, it works so much better than the expensive one we got from Dartington. It spiralized half a cucumber perfectly.
Oh, okay. That's why we've got those odd-shaped remnants of salad in our fridge again. Because you end up with a kind of butt plug-shaped vegetable or fruit, don't you, in the fridge? You think, whose is that?
This one doesn't.
Okay, I wish you told me.
It doesn't leave any waste. It uses the whole cucumber.
And nothing but the whole cucumber.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's very good.
Nothing but. Okay.
Flying design, they're pretty good. So.
Oh, here's one of our favourite chefs in Caldas de Rainha here. Cairo's here. Good evening. Certainly our most favourite Egyptian chef. Beautiful vegan spread that I picked up one evening, took back to Mrs. M. We absolutely loved it, Cairo. Yeah, so keep up the good work there, and we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've got quite a few little threads going on in the background here that we've kind of not really picked up on. So
go on.
There is that like yoga thing going on, and also about breath work, because I was talking about Jeff Granville and his biohacking. Kimberly said, I still think breath work is the most powerful thing I've tried for decades. And yeah, actually, I agree. I think, the most simple things we can do are the ones we should be doing, like drinking water and breathing are some of the most, great things to calm us, to still us, and to give us health. And then David's added in, holotropic breath work can cause you to have a psychedelic experience, I've heard. Well, Yeah, the breathing that Jeff shared with me, it did really trip me out, and I fell asleep and then woke up a couple of hours later thinking, oh my God, where are the kids? You know, because I literally passed out giving them milk. And then we've got some more things like Kimberly. This is a blast from the past. Has found her paperwork from Newton Natural Health Centre during a big clear out, and that was the paperwork from 2006 when you were running the health centre there.
I thought I was paperless, but I guess I might have had one or two pieces of paper in that operation. That was the Natural Health Centre that it was called. Interestingly, it was called a healing centre when I bought it and took it on, and I changed the name from Newton Abbot Healing Centre to Newton Natural Health to appeal to a wider audience and so that people wouldn't be put off by the word healing, which I think is a bit of a hot button, push button trigger word for people. But that's
Adam Rees is here. Did you notice that? Adam Rees. Adam,
yes.
I think I've only met you once, and was that when you were trying to sell us some
network marketing?
Yeah, some network marketing.
Not that we've got anything against that, but I did. You'll see it. You'll see one of my comments here is like we survived 2012, which we'll come back to if we've got time. Free energy readings. So if you want a lot of people don't know this about me, but I do energy readings. So if you want a free energy reading, I don't like to charge for it because I think it's a gift. So just put in the comments hashtag free energy reading in your name, and I'll just tune into you. And when the moment's right, I'll come back to you with what I've intuited for you. So there's that spiritual playlist. So what sort of songs? I mean, as well as David Pramal, what do you like listening to? And what are those Gregorian chants? What have you got in your spiritual playlist? Spiritual movies. I was looking up into the trees yesterday somewhere, and I was reminded of a segment from What the Bleep. And do you remember? So there was a time, wasn't there, where all these spiritual movies were coming out. And so what spiritual movies are coming out now, or what are your classics, like What the Bleep or The Secret or whatever? And what do we think about them now? With the change of time and perception.
That's a really good question.
Yeah, and the last thing there, hashtag what happened to Nikken. That's what I was reminded, because that was one of the first network marketing things that I came across within the New Agey holistic circles. And I want to find out if anyone's still got some magnetic insoles or something like. Has anyone still got a chi machine? That was my thing. Or has anyone still got a tube of New Ways toothpaste that's so expensive that they don't really want to use it? So any
I did have some of those Nikken or whatever they were, those magnetic insoles, and they were the most painful things. They were the most painful things to walk on. I had them in probably about 2006 actually, and I walked on them a few times and then just chucked them in the back of a cupboard. Not very good.
Exactly, where a lot of them ended up.
Adam, I want to know, are you still doing the thing that you spoke to us about? Because I remember it was really compelling, but we obviously weren't in the right place. But I'd love to hear how you've got on with that. Jennifer is here and said, we're most afraid of our own light, but yes, a hell of a lot of spiritual BS out there. Lucky you contribute to the bright side of it. Hopefully, not always, but hopefully.
Well, no, probably not.
Love to you. So glad you're doing this. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I think some of what I say, I'm sure what people will just say that's a load of old BS. And like my endeavour is that it's not harmful or painful or unpleasant or negative. But different strokes for different folks in this world of spirituality, or in the broadest view of life. So people are going to project onto you as well, aren't they? There is that. So it's fine. Well, is it fine? It happens, I suppose, is what I mean. Is that I won't be everyone's cup of tea. As Mrs. M, I don't know if this is a news flash to you. You might not be either. But we find the people we find useful, don't we? And if this probably goes on the holistic bingo card, doesn't it? When the student's ready, the teacher appears. I think that's true.
Or you could say, like we attract the sort of vibrational match of we want to be. We want to be with and stuff.
Yes,
that can go on the New Age bingo, can't it?
And absolutely. And also, today's or yesterday's most amazing guru or workshop looking back, you could say, well, that was actually BS, but it played its part. You know, everything kind of plays its part, doesn't it? And which might be another way of looking at this. I mean, that might be a very funny thing to have people talk about the most embarrassing workshop they've been on, or the most embarrassing workshop they've led. I mean, I've taken some real liberties. I thought I was an enlightened being 10 or 15 years ago, and I started something called the International Institute of Joy and got in the Sunday Times. And I thought, I'm onto something here. As in, you know, I really thought I could help people. And I was running workshops. And Shropshire County Council paid me to run an evening class called There Must Be More to Life. And I got on a local BBC and everything. And looking back at it now, it's like, ooh, I'm wincing a bit. You know, it's like, what the hell could I have known at that age? I mean, what do I know now? But certainly, what did I know then in my 30s when I thought I was, and I was quite an intense young man who had read a few spiritual books, and I think I quite prided myself on being so miserable for so many years that I must have something useful to share with people. But any others who want to own their own spiritual BS here? That could be fun, couldn't it?
Well, we've got some great. We've got so many comments coming. I'm really
bless you all.
Yeah, really bless you all. This is great. Haha, the sentimental yoga mat. The story is more important to you than the mat. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Victoria's saying, happily heading to the beach at Hilton Head Island, South Carolina tomorrow morning to catch up with the family in Pennsylvania. Very much needed family time. Haven't seen them since Christmas. To me, that is, you know, almost like a, you know, that is knowing what you need and attending to that. I think that's what we should be doing. I think that is the whole purpose of, you know, really understanding what you need. And I think that's, you know, spiritual, I guess.
Well, so it's a free workshop, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely a free workshop, because when you're with your family, you get triggered really quickly. You learn exactly what.
Well, isn't it Ram Dass who said something like, you know, if you think you're enlightened, just spend a week with your family.
Yeah. We're getting lots of people asking for free energy readings, Carl.
Oh, okay. I'll do my first one then. Let me just tune in. Who was it who was asking there? Say again.
Let me tell you. I'll let you know.
Senga is supposed to be like prepping up for a job interview. I don't want to distract you. Stephen Wells. I think I'm going to do Stephen, actually. If I could just tune in. Carry on talking with a few comments if you don't mind.
Okay, there's Jennifer also wants one. Jason Hall wants one.
I can do this collectively, actually.
Penny Albertella.
There are some trends. There's a definite collective vibe here. It's like a morphic resonance.
Yeah.
100th monkey kind of thing going on with everybody with their energies at the moment. Particularly the people in Portugal.
Okay, so while you're tuning in, let me just share some more. Comic Adam, hello, my
hey.
He's saying, good evening, lovelies. Portugal is spiritual for me, as when I look out of my window, I see spirit in the natural world all around me. When I marvel at the small things, all things are marvelous. I absolutely 100%. That is how I know that there is something beyond what we like see, when people say, how do you know that there is something that kind of connects everything? But for me, when I look at the natural world, it's just so obvious, like the question's not even there anymore. I totally feel that, Cole. Thank you for joining us. Love to you and the family. Adam is saying, unfortunately, I was flogging some organic green something or other. Yes, not a fan.
You're not selling it, mate. That's not selling it. That's why it didn't work out. Would you like to buy some of my organic green something or other? I'm not sure. Okay, all right. Let me just
hang on.
Energy reading.
Franco is saying that we should both go for a session or two with Catherine Conant. So
we will do. We will. And she's written a book. Kate, please put the name of your book in the comments, and people can buy your book from you as well. You had the most incredible experience, I think, in life, and it's in your book there. Can I just have a moment, though, love, to just do this energy reading?
Okay. I
don't know if I'll be doing these every week. Probably not after this.
They take it out of you, don't they?
It really does. It exhausts me. This, you're meant to be a kind of channel, aren't you, where it doesn't touch the sides, but actually, this can be quite disruptive to my chakras. Yeah. Right. I'd like to say that most of you are probably paying too much for electricity. Yeah. And actually paying too much for gas as well.
What
There
about
you go.
what about water?
There's water. Stop drinking out of plastic bottles because it kills the energy of the water. Or just shake it a few times. What do they call it? Succuss it. If you're drinking bottle, but don't drink bottled water. Come on, it's not a good look. Unless you're giving it free on an aeroplane. No, but then don't travel on aeroplanes either. Just stop it. So there you go. Oh, God, I have to shake that off. That was hard. Oh,
I'll get the sage stick out on you a bit later.
Please stage me later on. Is that
balance your auric field? Yeah, definitely. Michael Bliss is joining us. He says, I think it's refreshing to have a live conversation about spirituality. Some are afraid of this topic, but there's so much hope and joy to be delivered in conversations like this. Thank you. And Penny's enjoying the best energy reading ever. It's a bit different from the readings I give, right, Penny?
Free as well. Come on, you lot. That was
naughty. Where are we in our comments?
What do you want for nothing? I wanted to say something about yoga. I saw some. This is we could have this. We could have spiritually correct comment of the week, because in one of the Portugal groups, somebody had put, "I'm looking for a place where I could do yoga," and somebody wrote back in the comments, "You don't do yoga.
You are what you are.
Like
yoga.
you don't do yoga. It's like yoga does you, or you be yoga, or you become one with the yoga." But I thought, oh, come on,
that seems a bit mean.
It does. I hope it wasn't somebody in this lot who said that. just lost the viewer.
Well, I mean, that to me sounds like somebody that wants to be right rather than happy.
There you go.
That's one of the things that I struggle with in some of these like spiritual groups is when there's like spiritual one-upmanship, where people, almost want to, it's like spiritual top trumps. We used to notice this. We used to work at a disability charity in Devon. And so a lot of the people that are connecting with us tonight from Devon know us from there. And it was all very lighthearted with the people that we work with, but we work with lots of people with disabilities and, additional needs. And they used to play top trumps. And, they would, outdo each other on like how disabled they were, and you have people outdoing themselves on, how spiritual they are. And, they'll put in like that they don't have a television, or they'll put in that they don't
I don't have a TV.
And it really,
I don't watch TV.
It really is like a way of beating up anyone else. And I don't find that very inclusive. I don't find that very helpful. And I've been that person as well, because.
And you're not judging them now at all, are you?
Well, I rather than judge, I like to think that I'm questioning why they're, like where that's coming from. I'm more intrigued as to where that's coming from, because I know in the past, like, when I've perceived that, if you are like conscious of things, you might do this. I've sort of veered that way to see, I wonder what it would be like to do yoga every day at 6:30 in the morning, or I wonder what it would be like to have like water.
That's as far as most people get, to be fair.
Yeah. I wonder what it'd be like to do this or do this retreat and this, that, and the other. And it becomes part of your identity quite quickly. And so it comes out in conversations, but I don't think it necessarily serves to help, because like for me, like life force and feeling bliss and feeling chilled, which by the way, I don't always feel chilled and blissed out. Not at all. Like sometimes it's just a little fleeting moment, but I am committed to working in such a way that I can enjoy my life in the best way possible and help share that with as many people as possible as well. So, that's where I'm like wanting to put my attention and energies. But when I think about how I've been in the past and been a bit of a superior snob at times, I really now, like, I forgive myself for it, but I look back and think, a bit like you, Carl, wincing at like, creating the Institute for Joy in your 30s.
Yes. No, that wasn't the thing. I still think that's a great idea.
Well, yeah, it's a great idea. But like you said, when you were in your 30s, you were really serious. And
yeah, it's true. But I mean, this is part of the curve, isn't it? Of one's growing, whatever you call it, consciousness, awareness. Yeah. And there is an evangelical phase, isn't there? Without a doubt.
Yeah,
I think a few people might put their hands up here when they first became of something other than. And when was it for you, incidentally? People who are tuned in. What we're talking about here is the realms beyond the physical and the mental. Yeah. And I didn't quite know that was the model of it, and that is only a model. It's we have to use these models and words, don't we, to describe something that is indescribable ultimately, but it kind of points us in the right direction. And I didn't know what it was, but I had a sense of that, as I'm sure a lot of you here did in your teenage years. And if you didn't know what that was, what you were looking for, you certainly felt the absence of it through some possible anxiety or depression even, which I think is one cause of depression is knowing that there's something more, but not being able to put your finger on it, and not being able to understand why everyone else seems so happy when maybe they're not anyway. But that's what we're talking about here. And then when you find yourself, full stop, or you think you found yourself, and you've got access to this new realization and consciousness that there might be a spiritual realm, there might be a holistic vision, there might be a holistic model. That's really beautiful, isn't it, in its own way? But then that can very quickly turn into the evangelical, everybody should do this, and people who don't are muggles or sheep or the unawakened or whatever. So definitely an evangelical part to the journey that I think probably a lot of us would put our hands up to, right?
Yeah.
And maybe still do it.
Yeah.
David, do you know who Caroline Leaf is?
No. Who is that?
We could take we could take a leaf out of her book, or a book out of that leaf. But we don't know which one you're talking about there, David. Tell us more. And Andy's thinking of doing some yoga. Often that can be enough. If you do homeopathic yoga, just the thinking about it can actually bring a lot of relief. So try that. That's got to be. Well, is it better? I mean, when you go to the absolute limits of, I suppose, what would it be? Sort of, for want of a better term, and put this down on the bingo card, but the quantum healing. And we were talking about this recently, weren't we? It's like, how is it that these yogis prove that nothing can harm you? The yogis that drink strychnine, there is a way of being far beyond probably most of us here, where nothing can harm you. So the worry about taking pills is an interesting one, isn't it? Perhaps it is better, and that there are natural methods for dealing with pain rather than taking pills. But worrying about taking pills is quite harmful, isn't it? And I was thinking that today. Like, every time now I think of having a Coca-Cola, and forgive me if there are people here who
drink Coke,
who just don't want to talk to me anymore because I drink Coke. But I was thinking of getting a can of Coke yesterday, and I thought, I don't think I should. It's not very good for me. And actually, what I realized was, I don't think thinking that every time I want a bloody Coke is good for me. And then these thought processes now, this orthorexic mind field that we've been conditioned to do. So children are so much better, aren't they? At sort of there's the thing, I want it, I'll go get it. Humans, like 20 years later, 30 years later, 50, 60 years later, oh, that's a nice cake over there, but I'll get diabetes if I eat it. But then again, I do deserve a treat. And they might have a low fat one, and on it just, surely that's worse for you than just going and getting the goddamn cake and having it and eating it and enjoying it. But that's I think probably where we're at for a lot of us at the moment, until we see it.
I think that's a bit like Ethel, like our perennial old person who is a kindly granny who says, "Oh, come here, let me give you a slice of cake and a cup of tea." Spirituality, where what they know is, what everyone else seems to not know, is that everyone just needs to be listened to sometimes. They just need to be heard, they need to be acknowledged, and they need to have that like feeling that someone's out there to care for them, that has their back. Those kindly grandmothers who just know the right thing to say at the right time. And
you really get a sense, don't you?
Yeah.
In the way that grandmothers can do, that they're not judging you. They can receive and hear you freely and clearly, in a way that a lot of granddads can't.
Well, I mean, granddads can too, but like my ex's grandmother was one of those like beautiful old souls who just didn't seem to have any judgment in her. To me, I mean, I did hear that she kicked up a massive like stink at a market once, you know, a very sort of like racist attack. But you know,
I never say that. Yeah, she's really nice, a really good heart. Terrible racist as well, though. Yeah. But it's just her age. It's just the age she grew up in.
The person that I knew and how she was with me, she was just absolutely loving and kind and very unjudgmental. And actually, I think that's you know, a sort of hallmark of spirituality is like just being there for somebody and really hearing it.
How about we do that? How about we do that here? You know,
Jim is sharing what isn't spiritual, and it's finishing the D7 application.
Fair play, though, Jim.
Well done, Jim.
Yeah, good on you. Good on you. That's fantastic news.
Right, we've got some of these. We've got some of these videos coming in. You know, you're talking about which shows of people like taking.
Oh, fantastic! Thank you, Philomena, for that comment. That's very kind of you.
Yes, thank you. I was a bit embarrassed to say anything, but it's lovely.
Well, I'll say it for you. Let's just see how a woman can soak this up, shall we? Louisa is very beautiful. There she goes. There she goes. And we'll do that to anyone who wants to come on the screen. And we can have rampages of appreciation for this community, can't we? Anyone who struggles to take a compliment, we can get you on the screen and we'll give you a rampage of appreciation so you can practice soaking it up and being the awesome being that you are. Okay. But we're not this week. We'll probably have that as a service we can offer in future weeks. Sorry, you were talking about some of the spiritual movies?
Yes, and also some of the things that people you know, say in their one-upmanship. So we've got Stephen saying, I don't watch YouTube. And then a little bit later on, we've got, you don't do YouTube, you live it.
Brilliant. Brilliant. That's us. That's the sense of humor. Bang on here, I hope. That's fabulous, you two.
We've got from Jason Hall, Instagram yoga is narcissistic in the extreme, the complete opposite of its true aims. Yeah, funnily enough, though, I do know some yoga teachers who use Instagram.
Instababes.
It's funny. Oh, yeah, homeopathic yoga. That's great. I thought you'd like that.
Well, you wait. When I've written my book about it, it's I'll probably get homeopathic profits back from it, though. That's the problem. No, by the way, love homeopathy. Just making a light-hearted comment there.
Yeah, we're big fans of it. So David is saying Caroline Leaf is a communication pathologist and cognitive neuroscientist. Her book, Cleaning Up Your Mental Mess: 5 Simple Scientific Proven Steps to Reduce Anxiety, Stress, and Toxic Thinking. How has that helped you, David?
Good question.
And she's got a blog and podcast too he's sharing. But you know, like when I hear about the stuff that people like, I always want to know what effect did it have on you in particular? Like, why do you recommend it?
Fair question.
Kimberly is saying, my grandpa's response to everything I worried about, work, food, relationships, is what you're doing making you happy, sweetheart?
I'm feeling that. I am feeling that tonight.
Yes.
And I'll tell you what, even if you haven't got a grandpa anymore, because some of us are knocking on a bit, you can still feel that, can't you? You can still feel that voice in your head, possibly. And it's a great one. Isn't that a great little reference point? If it was your grandma or your grandpa, your avo or your avo, they can still talk to you in that archetypal way, can't they? If you want to run something past them. That's beautiful, Kimberly. Thank you very much for that.
Yes. And Jason is saying any spiritual teaching should be inclusive with no gain and not hierarchical. I would agree with that. But we don't often see that, do we? We do sometimes meet these sort of very sort of hierarchical setups. And then
it's a tricky one, that, isn't it? Yeah. You know, it is definitely a tricky one. Oh, look at this.
This is lovely. My oldest student, 83 years old, teaches yoga here in Morvo. I also enjoy preparing the vocab for those lessons with him. It's a guy. Wow. Awesome.
So maybe we could do. This is Spiritual Portugal.
We should interview.
Downward dog would be something like Baija Khan, wouldn't it? Or Khan Baija. Is that right?
Philomena, can you give us? Can you help us do the spiritual bingo words in Portuguese? That would be fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. But I think I'm onto it there with Khan Baija. I don't. The sun salutation. What would be that? The soul the soul. Yeah, that's right. So that'd be great to hear some more of those, Philomena, if you don't mind.
So David's saying, I did listen to her ideas about the differences between the brain and the mind and how you can use your mind to heal your brain. Well, you know what, David, like the interview I'm doing with Robert Jardine, he's talking about the injuries and the changes that go on in the brain when we experience shock, and how the shock creates something in the brain, which then creates a healing dilemma. And so there's probably some overlap in those technologies. And also Jeff Granville, who I interview and chat with every couple of weeks, he's working on mindfulness and health as well. So it might be interesting to, have a chat around that. I love that. And Jim White is saying, David Durham, at David Durham, Dan Siegel writes a lot about the mind-brain connections too. I'm fascinated by that. And I know Penny is as well, Penny Albertella, as a fellow hypnotherapist and NLPer, we're fascinated by the mind-brain connection and how it all works out. We've got Owen Lloyd Martin saying, watching and listening under the stars. That sounds very romantic. I love that.
Yes, very nice. And I mean, a lot of people are excused, aren't they, this? Because it's one thing to talk about spirituality, but if you can go better and have a spiritual experience like that, just turn this off. I mean, really, we would thoroughly endorse any outbreaks of real spirituality or spiritual experience. This is a talking shop in some ways, isn't it? I'm hoping that we are spreading the love, enjoying the vibes, and all the rest of it. But I mean, seriously, if you're moved to go out and look at the stars now, bye. We'll be here again next week.
What I'd like to know, because I remember we actually saw the what's it called? The shower, the meteoroid shower with him 4 years ago now, wasn't it? Or 3 years ago. Is that what you're looking out for? Are there any like late stragglers coming in? Any fallen stars?
I wonder how much that is in astronomical distance. The difference between 3 nights ago and tonight might be millions of light years or something like that, mightn't it? It's just quite incredible to think of it in those terms and go out inside and feel how insignificant you are. So you can stay here and feel and have your ego stroked as a good spiritual person, or you can go outside and look up to the stars and feel how insignificant you are. This just in though. Oh, I got Senga. She just wanted to let us know that she's got a Bodum stovetop milk frother. She actually drinks her coffee black and doesn't do milk. So that's one of these gadgets, isn't it? But Bodum wasn't an MLM, was it? I think that was just seemed like a good idea at the time. One of those purchases for frothing goat milk, probably, because I've got a dear friend. I mean, he's a doctor, and he got into my car once to see several cans of Coke on the floor. I think I'd probably fueled the journey with, and he said, "Why are you drinking that crap?" And I felt quite told off. And he drank. I stayed over at his place. Great bloke. And in the morning, he made me a cappuccino, probably with, some organic, fair trade, free range beans or whatever. And he put bloody goat milk in this thing because they say goat milk is the most digestible, don't they, of the animal milks after mother's milk. And it gave me a bellyache, like I'll never forget and never want to drink goat's milk again. But I think that there's the connection there. Your stovetop milk frother for your organic goat milk person who wants to put that on top of their free range cappuccino. But thank you, Senga, for that. I do like these little details about people's lives.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And Bob has shared with us, I and Karen have always just taken what resonates and left the rest go from many different spiritual experiences or people, etc. Began early with Catholic indoctrination that made little sense to me. And that's an interesting one. I wonder how many people here in this group are or were sort of indoctrinated from birth and what effect that had on them.
Who wasn't?
We're all indoctrinated. I mean, I remember being, 5 or 6 at school and being told what the nativity was and learning about somebody being crucified and having to draw pictures of it,
Ooh.
And I remember as a 5 or 6-year-old being horrified that anyone could do that to another person. And I was only thinking about it today, like, why would we terrorize children like that, you know? And it was to indoctrinate into, yeah.
I mean, there's a time and a place for the crucifixion metaphor, but probably not when you're 5 or 3 or something like that. And I think I don't know if I dreamt it or it actually happened. I ran away from Sunday school. I was terrified by the. I think we don't know what we're like as adults, do we? To little children, it's a bit like teachers. You know, teachers probably go to school thinking, well, I probably smell quite nice and I'm probably quite presentable. And it turns out, you know, they're a geography teacher with patches on their corduroy jacket covered in chalk dust. They smell of coffee and fags. And they've no idea, do they? And when you're a teenager, you're very sensitive to that. And at point, if you're wondering what the hell I'm talking about here, it's probably the same when you're little, isn't it? And you meet a priest. And I remember being terrified. That's it's quite a, you know, dim and distant and traumatic memory. But, you know, somebody in black, like a black cape, it felt like. And you know, the harshness of a church as well. That's not a comfortable place to be as a child, is it? The stone and the hard wood and the echoiness and these, like you say, terrifying depictions. That doesn't seem like the most or the best start to your spiritual life, possibly.
It's interesting because we've getting quite a few answers into that. So Kimberly's saying, I grew up in a C of E high church, dad's family, and clairvoyant mediums, mum's family. I now respect both and draw from both what feels good. And I think that's the right way to do it. You know, like you find your own way, you know, with your own instincts. You kind of sense your way forward. And it's good that you had a mix of both. I like that. Philomena's saying, in our Salazar time, there used to be a crucifix on every classroom at school. I love what Shannon's put. Where's Shannon? Me, I'm in that 12-step program of lapsed Catholics.
Pleasure, Shannon.
And
it's a rich theme, isn't it? It's a rich theme. Oh, by the way, Jim's got 4 copies of What the Bleep if anyone needs one.
We got one, actually.
He's moving to Portugal, so it'd be good if we could get those moved before he has to get rid of it or ship it or something like that. That's great, Jim. For what? Why? I suppose is the next question.
He might have done what you did. You know, like when you really liked the book. Oh crikey, what is it?
The Great Simulator.
Radical
Honesty. Yeah,
Radical Honesty, and you bought like 8 copies to give them out to people, and
they all came back, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Nobody wanted to read them. People don't like to be preached to, do they? They like to be invited.
It's funny. I mean, there's another little theme for us seasoned New Agers. When you lend a book to somebody, thinking it's going to change them into the person you'd like them to be, and they give it back to you, or you never see them or the book again.
Yes, never see them again.
That happens, doesn't it? That happens. Yeah. And wouldn't it be amazing if someone turns up in the comments tonight saying, hey, I've got your copy of Barry Long's Making Love. I've been trying to find you to give you this.
Out to somebody.
I did. Yeah.
Jason shared something. He was sharing something about, hang on, here we go. Let's start at the beginning. My personal spiritual journey has been one of ecstatic dance and thousands of psychedelic experiences over a 30-year period. Jason, how old are you? I don't know. For some reason,
that's a lot of dancing.
That's a lot of dancing. But with your name, Jason, I'm guessing you were a child of the 70s, possibly late 60s. You don't sound old enough to have been doing that for 30 years. But you've added, and sorry, you know, like trying to sort of investigate. You're 48. So you're a couple of years older than me. You are a child of the 70s. But you said the dance helped with connecting with people and psychedelics for connecting to nature and the universe. Yeah.
And this man, he kindly gave us a tour around his quinta in central Portugal, and this is yeah. Well, it's immortalized on YouTube. It's fantastic, and it was such a heartfelt and personal sharing of the project, and so admirable and just so authentic. And funny as well when Jason was describing the bar that he's creating there on his land as well. And this to me is another aspect of real, the campaign for real spirituality. Action, putting something into action. this man, I can see this man is involved in this endeavor that is part of him, and an unfolding part of him, and just his like connection with the land, and his, you know, he's bringing his ethics and worldview into the land here in the project in Portugal. It was so inspiring to see that happening. And you know, he's not just talking about it, he's getting on with it. And I have the greatest respect for you, Jason, on that basis. That's spiritual, mate.
Yeah. The sort of like getting on with it. I love that. We've got, this is amazing. So Kimberly's just said, oh my God, Jason Hall just quoted one of my cheesy quotes from years ago, my own bullshit coming back to haunt me. What was that quote?
Yeah, what was that quote?
Yeah, I want to know. Beth Johnson has just checked in. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Beth, you're coming from, I won't say the actual exact location, but you're also coming from Texas as well.
Number 26.
So we've got, you know, a couple of people from Texas, you know, we've got people from Portugal, England, Scotland, and wherever else. It's pretty fascinating. I'm loving it. Jacqueline was saying, I was brought up in a convent. It was traumatic.
Oh, my goodness.
Funny enough, your mum had the similar experience, didn't she?
Oh, what, showering inside a cape or something like that? All kind of weird stuff. Yeah. Didn't do my mum any harm.
Your vibe attracts your tribe.
We love that. We do love that, though. We do love that. We got to say. And that's what's happening here tonight. Look around, folks.
Okay, so David is saying after Jason's comment, I plug a book, Michael Pollan's book, How to Change Your Mind, What the New Science of Psychedelics Teaches Us About Consciousness, Dying, Addiction, Depression, and Transcendence.
Awesome.
Yes, an interesting one. I haven't really done much in the terms of psychedelics. I've done mushrooms a couple of times, and I don't know. I did have this kind of transcendent experience. I was on a date with somebody in Bali, and I didn't actually realize that the guy I was on a date with had red hair. And as it kicked in, all of a sudden his hair just like seemed to glow. And I was just like looking at this like red hair and thinking, wow, you're so cool. But we ended up kind of like going off in our own little worlds. And so I ended up feeling kind of separate, feeling very connected to nature and everything. But that's not unusual for me, but feeling very separate from my date. And the very strange thing was, like, about a week later, all of a sudden I went spontaneously back into the trip, which I wasn't expecting. And that was like, whoa. So I tend to, keep a bit away from that. But I know lots of people that use psychedelics and do ayahuasca and retreats and find it very useful. I probably will experiment probably when the kids are a little bit older. And, if Carl's not so, if Carl's all right with it as well.
I'm happy with mushrooms on toast. A good shiitake mushroom is probably as far as I want to go down that avenue, as part of a full English breakfast, actually. A full English psychedelic experience.
And that might actually, what Kimberly's writing here, like psychedelics not recommended for those of us who've experienced spiritual crisis. I've only got to hear beautiful music and I'm off. Yeah, and I'm a bit like that myself.
Same here, Kimberly.
Yeah.
You've got to be careful with that stuff, haven't you? And it does get, again, it's like Instagram territory, isn't it? And how, so many of these things, that perhaps this is part of the spiritual BS conversation, how mindfulness, how ayahuasca, how all these things get marketed and traded, and they get, culturally reappropriated and stuff. And something can get lost and people can get hurt. And I don't mean to be a square daddy-o about this, but I think there's definitely a good call there, Kimberly, with that. And
I think, like, we all have our little roots and ways to find our vibration, and for some people, like, I'm sure Jason, and he's coming back actually with something right now. For me, psychedelics are not for everyone. So he's actually agreeing, and by no means a surefire way to a spiritual path. They're a tool as much as yoga, meditation, and religion. And that's kind of what I was about to say. But
very good. Yeah.
It's about finding the correct tool for your personal path. Yes. And, this is the thing, that Jason's obviously highly articulate. He's just like, like typed it out, fired it out, and there it is. You know, you're obviously, you know, it obviously suits you and your constitution. And I know for me, it's not for me, but I have had a little bit of fun. But I know lots of people who've really benefited from it.
Well, big question for me with this is, how is it that you go on a date with someone and don't realize they've got red hair? Did they have a hat on?
The lighting wasn't that good. You know, it was quite dark.
Okay.
He had like dark brown hair, but it had like real sort of like fiery red tints in it. And
look, girls, and this is for the young people listening. If a man takes you to a dimly lit place and offers you mushrooms, be very careful. Okay, that is not the sort of date I want my daughters going on, for example.
Well, this is obviously before I had kids.
Yeah. And you're a grown woman.
One thing that I was a grown woman at that point, but one of the things that I was thinking about the trip at that time, I used to quite enjoy watching the videos made by the template people, and I'm sure some of the people in this thread already know about the template. You know, they've seen some of the videos. That would be one of my video, and it's got like moving sacred geometry and tones and a really beautiful series of ceremonies with really nice words. And that works for me in a really beautiful way. And I remember thinking, wow, I could just really trip out with these mushrooms and this sacred geometry. But actually
and in Bali as well. You're such a cliche.
Yeah, I mean, I was a massive walking cliche, but seeing the sacred geometry and feeling very relaxed and just being very calm and peaceful was my thing. But my real thing, I think, was singing for me. So like Jason, it's dancing, but for me, singing a mantra, I felt myself disappear and not pass out, but I know that I wasn't in my body. I had spiritual experience. I kind of felt like I ceased to be, and yet I was in my body, but I just wasn't there. You know, my awareness was somewhere else.
I've got an idea. What's that frequency of music that's better than the conventional pop music?
432.
For say, if Oasis re-record their albums in 432, would that be Manchester? It's a bit tenuous, isn't it?
That's not very good.
That's awful.
Sorry,
Adam.
Very good,
most embarrassing. Oh no! Before we move on to that and the template, as well as lending a book to somebody. And you never hear from them again. Who's run off with your favorite book and you want it back? Because you lent out your template DVDs, didn't you? They never came back.
Yes, to Giles in
Yeah, Giles. If you're watching, most embarrassing workshop.
No, some of them came back, but one of them didn't. But it's fine.
That's worse. That's worse than the whole collection going, isn't it?
I think, you know, if something doesn't come back, then that person needs it more. And that might be new age bullshit.
Oh, you terrible hippie.
But, you know.
But that means you can't. That means you stuck on your fifth chakra. If he's got that last DVD, can you get to the top chakras?
It's like the way I see it is those DVDs are 11 years old anyway, 12 years old. And the technology was pretty crap.
Okay.
And
probably on YouTube anyway.
Yes, it is on YouTube now, and I can still go and buy them, you know, and they'll be much better produced now. So I've no
Adam had enough dignity at a workshop to not get down and start grazing like a giraffe. This is fantastic, Adam. Thank you for telling us about this.
Most embarrassing workshop I went on was a wild foraging one at a little festival. We went on a foraging walk and the leader had the participants eating hawthorn leaves directly off the bushes like a bunch of giraffes. Then she got everyone grazing on sorrel leaves on the ground like we were cows. I'm proud to say that my dignity prevented me from getting down and grazing.
It's a George Galloway moment, isn't it?
I actually think I'd turn around as well. I don't think I could do that.
No. And I guess, yes, where it's like a horse refusing a jump, isn't it? That's a classic moment. I was thinking it's not the most embarrassing. Well, it was the most embarrassing, but I didn't, you know, and Adam, I think probably we know each other from back in the day in Sheffield. And I did, I think probably after some of your suggesting and other alpha males saying I really should do a sweat lodge, I eventually did it. And that was, I did it. I went through with the whole thing. And for me, and in my worldview. That was quite a daring thing to do. And I bloody loved it, Adam. So if you were part of me getting my kit off and being saged by a strange woman going in and out of the sweat lodge, I really loved that, and I'd do it again. I don't mind being distracted, says Senga. That picture I've just created is quite a distraction. I found travel is my spiritual compass. Oh, it's been the best thing I've ever done and experienced. Yes, the broadening of the mind of travel there. Thank you, Andy. What else? So many comments. Thank you. I mean, we're only meant to be doing an hour show, aren't we? But I mean, should we keep going whilst people are being so kind and giving?
Yeah.
Kate's book, Healing Visions, First Aid for the Soul. Where can that be purchased, Kate? Do let us know. We'll have you on to talk about it, I hope. And yes, thank you, Penny. Acknowledged as giving one of the best energy readings ever. Thank you for that. So, Carl, you suggested I ask, will anyone out there support me with my throat chakra and neurodiverse brain for this really important job interview tomorrow? It is for a counselling position. So what could we do in this situation? I mean, in that evening class that I mentioned before, we used to have this wishing well thing where we would sit in the group, probably towards the end of it, and we would affirm each other's desires. That sounds really dodgy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We would no touching. We all sit in a circle, and people would be thinking about what they wanted to manifest in their lives, and we would have a context of that coming true for people as well. And a woman came back a week or two later and said, I got a horse, and she'd gone somewhere and said to somebody, she wanted a horse, by the way, this is connected with the story. She went to someone's house. There was a horse on the lawn. That's a nice horse. Oh, I'm looking for a home for him. And we kind of, we manifested this. I found someone's wallet as well. I gave it back to him incidentally as well. And that was one of those twisted manifestations, wasn't it? I'd like some money, and then I find someone else's wallet, and I feel like I should give it back to him, which I did. But I found some money. It's true, isn't it? What the manifestation came true. So, cut a long story short, we can do that here, can't we? We can have an intention experiment here for you, Senga. I think it's probably the least we can do. And I mean, well, Kimberly's come in with a particular suggestion there. That's lovely. But I think we can have positive vibes going your way. We take it you want the job on every level, and lots of love to you and luck and best wishes, and may your dreams come true. And I hope I speak on behalf of others here who would wish that for you as well, for what it's worth. Yeah. And we've also got specifics coming through as well, haven't we here? Maybe try standing barefoot on the grass earth, tilt your head back. And how about that? I'd never have thought of suggesting that. That's adventurous, isn't it? Maybe now, I don't know. That's probably going to wake the neighbours up, isn't it? It's just Senga practicing for a job interview tomorrow.
I've got a killer question, actually. That and I used to work, just to give it a bit of clarity, I used to work in HR and training departments when I worked for big companies. That's great advice that's coming in from everyone, but this killer question, and it's to do with when you're asked about yourself, a lot of people do ramble about themselves for sure. So when they say to you, Senga, at the end of your interview, have you got any questions? You've got an amazing opportunity to find out if they've got any queries or anything about you that they're not sure about. So you might want to ask them, yes, I do have a question. Is there an aspect of me that you think is not suitable for this job?
Wow, that's brave.
And it's a really brave question, and their answer could really floor you. But if they're honest, they might say, one of the things that, we think about you, Senga, is that you don't have enough experience, or, we do wonder if, and it could be any number of things. And then when they give you the answer of what they think might be holding you back from that job, then you say, oh, I'm really glad that you shared that with me, because I didn't tell you about the time that I did blah, 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 kind of answering the thing that they were querying you about. So it's kind of I mean, it's giving them the opportunity to be really honest with you and to hear that, and then to recognize where you need to sell yourself a bit more. So for people who aren't very good at selling themselves, it gives you some really clear feedback that you can relate to.
Very good. From the training days of Mrs. M there.
Yeah. And I think you'll be fine, because we're all rooting.
Yeah, because we all want that, and we want to know. We want to know what happens next week. Tune in next week to find out if you get the job or not.
Check in with you.
But there's a lot of luck and love being sent your way from this gang here, even in Portuguese, I think. Senga Vance. Toda a sorte do mundo para amanhã. So all the luck in the world for tomorrow there, from the lovely Philomena as well.
Absolutely. There's this lovely. Sorry, I just took your comment.
Fighting over the comments here.
So Fiona Wright. Hi, Fiona. Do you know Fiona? Is Fiona someone that you know?
Fiona and Simon, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, right, okay. Not been vibrating so much recently, but got a few smiles returning listening to you guys tonight. Fiona, I want to put some love out to you. What's going on that you're not kind of vibrating in that beautiful way that and you know, and what can we do to help the smiles come back? Yeah, I think this is for us all to benefit from. You don't have to answer that, by the way.
Say that again.
You don't have to answer that, by the way. But
no. But if you know, that's part of this, isn't it? It's holding the space for the tribe. You know, we all rise with the same tide. I don't know how many more cliches I can come out with.
Come up with loads, because you do during the day anyway.
I do, yeah. It's my job. But let's, you know, we're here for each other. Is my hope. As you can see, with the best wishes to Senga with the job interview as well.
Yeah.
And I think Senga's got a question about that. This is the technique you suggested was during the interview.
Yeah.
At the end, when they say, have you got? Because I guess that's a really good way for interviewers to palm off and close the interview, and they won't be expecting that necessarily, will they?
Oh no, it's a killer question. And like when you ask that, they think, shit, this person's really smart, or oh my god, I need them on my team, because they're unafraid to ask really good questions, and they're a bit daring, and they're open to feedback, because you're signaling that you're happy to hear why they might not like you, and at some level, and I'm sure Penny, if Penny's still listening in, I'm sure Penny will back that up, you know, that from a sort of like body language, or from a signaling perspective, when you kind of signal that you're okay to hear negative things about yourself, what that communicates is that you have deep and firm confidence in your ability to cope with any situation. And for that kind of job that you need that kind of certainty. So yeah, just say, have you got any concerns about my suitability for this position? And then just smile and wait, and they'll probably get a bit shifty, and then they might answer, and then you've just got that absolute, you've got that perfect opportunity to share with them something that they didn't already know about you. And you can say it really beautifully, like, oh, you know, forgive me, I should have explained, you know, during this time I was also doing volunteering with this group of young people, or whatever, you know. Just find some extra information about yourself that you haven't shared. And
nice twist. Yeah, nice plot twist. Right, those are some lovely sentiments and comments at the end there. But I'm going to catch up with a few from earlier on, including saying goodnight to Bob and the Yonka household. Casa Yonka there in Alentejo. Have to get up early, heading off to bed. Blessings to you all. Cheers, Bob. Thank you so much for joining us. Love to you both. Love to you both. The CD, they needed a new coffee mat. That would be such a terrible end for the most cosmic of CDs or DVDs.
Oh my god, it's such a good one.
In my travels, I've met many self-professed shaman, or gurus. What I've learned is, if I ask them where my karmic center is, if it would be my elbow, whereas young, beautiful women's would either be on their chest or their yonic area. Yes. Well, we didn't talk too much about workshop stereotypes, and we've all got our nemesis, haven't we, at a workshop? And there's all those fantastic workshop things to talk about as well, aren't there, in future weeks? Like, why is it with bring and share workshops with food, there's always so much French bread and salad left over, and so the vegans break their veganity to eat the prawns that you brought along. Those kind of things. are the lovely little sidelines and quirks of workshop life. Maybe that's just a British thing, I don't know. Not mushrooms at the bring and share for Shannon. Can't even eat regular mushrooms. Can't imagine what the others would do to me.
Shannon, I imagine you're the kind of person that shouldn't have them because you're super sensitive. You're a 100% empath.
Yeah. if you don't get into a psychedelic experience with the right set and setting, then you will be let down. Good advice there from David. Kimberly, although I have a huge respect for Stanislav Grof's research using psychedelics and holotropic breathwork for spiritual emergency, it's not for me, she says. And I think we covered that, didn't we, with Jason Wright-Tool. Psychedelics for addiction, interesting. Yeah, and somebody mentioned trauma before with the movies and spiritual documentaries and so on. I think we'll talk about. I mean, it's a thing at the moment, isn't it? The two words currently of the workshop scene seem to be trauma and embodiment, don't they? And I'm not knocking it. I'm sure that the timing is right for us collectively. But I'm sure we will talk about those more in the in shows to come. I was in my evangelical stage of quantum physics. Oh, that's why you had 4 copies of What the Bleep. You got to look at this.
I loved in What the Bleep where the young heroine was like looking at this little kid playing basketball, and this kid was like in front of him, then he was behind him, and there was all like multi. No, it was very trippy in its time.
Yeah, absolutely. It stayed with me. I was just reminded of it yesterday, just seeing some trees moving. Okay, so let's conclude then. Senga Vance is going. Yeah, good luck tomorrow. Then we'll sign off now. Do a little bit more before it's lights out.
Penny's good advice, by the way. Penny has come back. She said, "I agree with Louisa, but spend also time visualizing them offering you the job and how it feels."
Great idea. Let us know, Senga, next week if you will, before, if you'd like. Absent-mindedness seems to be the thing with Fiona. And thank you, Kimberly. Hugs, Fiona. Everyone I know is struggling at the moment. Me too. And this is true, isn't it? These are really tough times. We've not even mentioned that, have we, so far tonight? Because we've had a great time. Thanks to you all.
Room, isn't it?
Yeah, but this is a tough world to be in anyway, isn't it? But especially so at the moment. So what you're saying there, Fiona, I was complacent, so I've been rather tough on oneself and disconnected. But I have my family, which is the most important, putting me back on track. Feels like I've been in a boxing ring for, bless you. I hope that passes soon. And I hope in some small way, us lot here, this whole community have been of some solace and comfort to you. I can agree with Fiona, says Senga. I haven't smiled a lot recently, but I've sat and smiled throughout this broadcast and actually laughed out loud. Fantastic. Great stuff. Very nice twist, obrigado. I think that's to you. I'll say goodnight, says Jacqueline Branco. Early start tomorrow. Great, fantastic evening. Thank you. Pleasure. Absolute pleasure. And night, Jacqueline from Kate. They're saying goodnight to each other. And fantastic show. Thank you so much. Great fun to be with you.
Everyone's leaving us.
Great to sit back and listen. Enlightening first show. Thank you both. And we'll finish on this, but we'll play
we need
TC Aila.
Yeah, because we've got.
Look,
go on.
Simply put, live, love, and laugh. That's a great note to end on, isn't it? Plus, we'll play out with TC's, Tanya's words of welcome to us. And Doreen Reyes, you sent me is it Pythias sensation? The sound of wind in the trees. I've misplaced the videos. We'll play those next week because I've been having some of that lovely tree action myself this week. And we might be able to connect with Garvos and Gary Austin, who's a tree hugger, tree lover. Muito obrigado from Victoria for this lovely forum. Enjoy your trip to South Carolina. Loved it, she says.
Yeah, have a nice
thanks, Victoria. Night all. Enjoy the chat. Brilliant start. Thank you very much. And thanks, Carl and Louise, for this lovely community. Thank you all. Thank you, Mrs. M, for being most excellent. And telling me about your mushrooms and everything.
You already knew about.
Yeah, I did actually. Yeah. So should we play out with?
But before we play out with it, just to remind you, TC Aila, she is our really great friend from Tamar. She is a fully awakened person, so she's been through a full spiritual awakening. She is what's known as an isness mentor. So she does breath work with people and she's really transformational. I have to say, wherever she goes,
great company.
she's amazing company, and she's absolutely happy and upbeat. And I've seen her go through lots of different phases, and she's just not fazed by anything. She just seems to absolutely, like you could question, is this person really, fully awake? Like they say, they've gone through this full old spiritual awakening, but she's the real deal, in my opinion. And she
That's
just
certainly our experience of her, isn't it?
yeah.
And I think she would say as well, it's not done. She
Yeah.
chooses that. She chooses that in each moment. It's not
Yeah.
like it's done and dusted, is it?
No, every single moment is a choice. Every single breath is a gift and a choice. But let me add her to the stream. And if you like the cut of her jib, then check us out on Friday. We do our monthly chat, and we're opened up to her community, and her community is really beautiful. They're all people who love breath work and who are very supportive and lovely. I am going to stream it to this channel, Spiritual Portugal, as well. But it's at 6:00 on Friday. That's British and Lisbon time. But we're talking about wholeness, and I'm sure she'll have some fantastic things to share.
And finally, as well, if you do become enlightened, don't forget to unsubscribe. We're the only channel that encourages people to unsubscribe and become enlightened and not need us anymore. So unsubscribe here, unsubscribe here.
Yeah, and Kimberly, you should totally connect with her. You'd get on really, really well with her. Yeah, she's on Facebook. She's T.C.A.E.E.L.A.H TC Aila. So anyway, I'm gonna leave you. We're gonna play out with Tanya. Yeah.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, and if you want to check out the Mirror on the Wall interview and chat I do with Rick Purcell, from Bali, that's on at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning.
6.5 hours from now.
Yeah.
You're crazy.
Yeah, but I love connecting with him. It just feels good. So anyway, thank you so much. I love you all, and I can't wait to connect again. Let's do the old namaste.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Hello, my name is Tanya Castillo, author named T.C. Aila, and I am speaking to you from Tomar, Portugal. Tomar is the spiritual heart of Portugal. It is the town that the Templar Knights chose as their headquarters around 1,000 years ago. And I am overjoyed to wish Carl and Louisa Munson all the very best for this new program they are bringing forth, Spiritual Portugal. Wow, what a wonderful creation. Being an business mentor that I am, which is simply holding a safe space for the reunion of human and divine, so that we can encounter that oneness within and therefore transcend the challenges of duality, interacting with life, interacting with the world, interacting with ourselves and with each other from a space of equanimity, harmony, balance, love, joy, peace, all of those things that we dream of because we know they are us. Well, being that gives me even more joy to know that this program is coming out. What is spiritual really? Well, actually, that's what we are, because we are simply spirit having human experiences in physical form. And the myriad of possible experiences is so vast that sometimes we get a little bit entangled in judgment. So my invitation is, through this wise sharing, this enlightening sharing that Louisa and Carl are bringing forth, that each one might find within themselves that space of compassion where all is well in all of creation, and where we can then find the balance in that 0 point of non-judgment and create from there. Actually co-create, because that's what we're all doing. Co-creating through the inner net of spiritual connection, because that's who we are. Well, go ahead with loads of love, my dear friends. Thank you for allowing your inspiration to flow and to bring to the world the beauty, the magnificence that you are. All my love. And see you around.
Ciao, ciao. Good night.